we finally get a chance to find out who really killed JT and who was Chanel protecting all along. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Lawrence Report. And tonight's broadcast is discussing the season finale of Reasonable Doubt. And y'all, it's been such a fun ride to cover this show right here. So I just want to tell everybody thank you for subscribing to my channel, for hitting the like button, for sharing my videos, for commenting on my videos about Reasonable Doubt. It's been a joy to cover this show. This is one of my favorite TV shows of all time, actually. So I want to give a big shout out to Kay Washington, Ramon Muhammad, Larry Wilmore, Aunt Skeleton Hulu. Thank you all for just ushering in this great wave of television that we all have been talking about all week long on social media, to our friends, to our family. Reasonable Doubt, y'all. It's been a joy. But let's get right into it. So the $1 million question, y'all. Who really killed JT? And we found our answer. And I said this right here. I said it has to be two people. It only can be two people. It got to be Sally, one of the daughters. We found out that it was not Sally. It was actually Natasha. It was Chanel's older daughter that killed JT. And the thing about it, Jax, she's able to put it together. She realizes who killed JT. Whenever Chanel said it was a conversation versus them versus her, that's how Jax was able to put the pieces of the puzzle together when it came to the situation with the death of JT. Reasonable Doubt, they had your boy shedding some thug tears. I ain't gonna lie to you. But before we get started, it'd be greatly appreciated if you guys get a subscribe button, like, and please do not forget to comment as we talk about the season finale of Reasonable Doubt. And like I said, this episode right here, they had me shed some thug tears, y'all. This episode was an emotional roller coaster. I'm gonna give some of my, quick thoughts, right? Man, I felt so bad for Chanel because I saw the tricks what this other lawyer was doing to Chanel. I'm like, how in the world are you going to do this to Chanel? You see what you've been going through as a woman yourself. You're not going to, I get it. I get the side of the fence she had to play on, but man, I felt bad for Chanel. But when it was all said and done, how great is our God. Shout out to that soundtrack because we needed that song right there for Chanel's release. But I am glad Chanel's free. So now, and I'm also glad Chanel, when it came to Adrian asking her to get married, ultimately she decided to choose herself, which I thought was dope. There's no need for you to rush into marriage. It's going to happen. We'll probably see that next season, right? Lewis. Can we talk briefly about Lewis? We know that the baby ended up getting lost, right? The baby ended up dying. And Lewis felt some type of way. He was going through it as a man because he held the baby. Like he says, I held the baby, right? And not to mention Tony. How Tony gonna serve them with those papers? The Tony saga is not going away no time soon, y'all. No time soon. Chris, Sally, are they headed to divorce? Y'all let me know. Naima still feeling some type of way that her brother is getting all the shine. But Lewis claims that, oh, you're my baby girl. I'm still looking after you, Vedia. Naima ain't trying to hear that, y'all. She's not trying to hear that. Corey got his happy ending. Looks like Corey Cash is gonna be Corey Cash, y'all. We saw what he was doing with the other woman. Can't think of her name right now. Corey Smooth. What a guy. But also for Corey, the case that he was working on with the Latina, I think her name was Isabella. She's free now. So that was a big W for Corey. This is going to put him into spotlight. We saw him basically packing his bags and he was getting ready to go. So I think more than likely Corey Cash, aka Morris Chestnut, is going to be one and done. But those are just some of my random thoughts before we got into Reasonable Doubt. But let's get right into the case of Chanel versus basically JT, right? So let's dive into it. Now, we are in the courtroom, right? And we are explaining about how Chanel and Jax, Jax end up getting context clues of figuring out who killed JT. We know it was the daughter, right? But this lady right here, Lucy. Lucy is going all the way in. And when she's talking about the case, right, she basically says, listen, Chanel waited and let JT bleed out. Chanel was in it for the $30 million. This is not a situation of self-defense, right? This is a situation of selfishness. I was like, bars. Okay, bars, right? Now, when we get to Corey, Corey's like, listen, she did what any other mother would do to protect herself and to protect her family. And I love the quote that Corey said about Zora Neale Hurston, right? And Corey ultimately said, listen, do not let another woman who has been abused, not let her pain become silence again, right? I'm paraphrasing that part, but he said. And when it came down to deliberations, it seemed like, it was going to be okay, right? That's what we thought. That's what it seemed like. But unfortunately, they hit Chanel with manslaughter. And everybody was there. The whole cast, everybody was there in this courtroom right here. And I was just like, oh my God. I shed a few thug tears. I felt so bad for Chanel, y'all. I really did. It was just a lot to take in, because I understand why she did it, but this is just a lot to handle in this final episode. But it looked like it wasn't going good for Chanel, but we know things are going to get better for her because ultimately, they had a conversation. It was Lucy and Jax. Jax comes up to her, lets her know that I know you've been an abused woman before. I'm asking for a lesser sentence for Chanel. Can you help us out? Right? And Lucy is such a hard nose, man. She's such a hard nose. But even with Lucy, we saw her get into a squabble with her ex-man, right? They get into it, and she tells him, basically, go back to Vegas. I'm calling the shots here. I don't want you in our son's life. And it's crazy how things change with Lucy, right? Because I saw Lucy almost like being in Chanel's shoes, right? When it came to being an abused woman, right? And of course, her husband ends up getting, her ex-husband ends up getting arrested, things of that nature, right? But then we're back in the courtroom again. One more time. So now that we're back in the courtroom again, I love how Jax was making her plea to the judge, not as Chanel's lawyer, but as Chanel's friend in this situation right here. And the judge asked Corey about, how many court credits that she has. And the lawyer basically approved Chanel to be released and to be free because they felt like she hasn't been a danger to the community, but at the same time, she has to go through probation, stuff like that, all of the legalities. But Chanel is free. How great is our God, Lord Jesus. So Chanel's free. Everybody there is on cloud nine. I was excited. I had a thug tear in my eye. I was like, okay. Chanel, you free. You were finally free. I was so happy. I was so happy about this right here, y'all. Not to mention, I love how Chanel was able to reunite with her girls, but she didn't get a chance to spend a lot of time with them, which I was hoping that she would be able to spend more. But Adrian was there as well. Now, Adrian, he popped that question. I think we saw it in some previous episodes, I believe, where he kind of was like, I want to get married to you. But Chanel hit him with the hard no. And I'm glad Chanel basically came out and said no because she needs to choose herself, right? Now, her and Adrian, they may end up getting married in the next season, right? But for right now, she needs to go just learn how to be herself again. She needs to get back to loving herself and just being a better person and healing, and ultimately healing from everything. It wouldn't make sense for a woman to marry another man right now after all she's been through with. It's best that she takes her time. I'm glad Chanel ultimately decided to choose herself. And did y'all see the scene, whenever Chanel was leaving the courtroom, when they had a flashback of Damon and Chanel basically combined together? That was crazy in itself. I thought that was dope because, later, Damon, it's been a long day for Jax, right? And I guess it's kind of like a subconscious. I can't tell exactly what that was. Maybe just something going on in her memory, right? We see that Damon appears. Damon is on the steps with her, basically trying to give her some words of encouragement, saying we all have, stuff that we're trying to get through. And he tells her basically that you're going to get through this, or you're Jax. Of course, he called her about her last name. I think it was Fair, Fair something. I forgot her Fair something. I forgot her last name, but it was another name that he called her anyway. But I appreciate that because I think now we're finally going to see the closing chapter of Damon, even appearing in those flashbacks, like the scene we saw. So that was dope. I was not expecting to see him anymore, but he was there. So I appreciate that. Poor Sally. Can we talk about Sally right quick, y'all? Poor Sally. Now, Sally reveals to her husband that she knew all along about it was the daughter. But, Chanel felt like she didn't have nobody else to turn to but Sally, right? And Chris, the husband, was like, yo, you knew? You know what? Okay, cool. Sally says, you know what? We need to go to couples therapy, right? And, Chris is like, yeah, Lewis told me we should do it. They go to couples therapy. That's when there's a question about, about them being back together, right? Chris is like, uncouple. So I'm like, yo, does that mean Sally and Chris are headed to divorce next season? What is going on with that? They dropped a major bombshell. I cannot wait to see how that's going to turn out, because that man is still upset about her. The only line, but putting up the house for Belle. Now, we know at the end, it seems like everybody's getting a happy ending, right? Corey goes on a date. He ends up getting that case that he was working on with Latina. He ends up winning that. So that was good for him. The son is in this, I guess, a talent show. He does his thing. He's getting a record deal. Well, trying to get a record deal, right? But Naima must feel some type of way, right? About that. So I'm wondering if they're gonna put more focus on Naima next season, right? Corey, I'm gonna say Jackson Lewis, they're playing these card games, and it seems like everything is going okay. Everything's back normal, great. But we know for Lewis, Lewis was in like a state of depression because Lewis and Tony ended up losing the baby. The baby was premature, and Lewis was just in like deep depression, right? And that happens sometimes for men, right? But unfortunately, while this is going on, Tony is trying to plan a funeral and all this stuff, and Lewis is like, wait, what? A funeral? Like, what are you saying? Like, she's trying to get a casket. Lewis is like, listen, this is too much for me. I can't do this. And she says, you know what? I was right. I don't need you. I'll do it on my own. Just go. And Lewis ends up leaving. We thought everything was gonna be good, but I should have known. This wasn't going to be the end of Tony, because Tony came in with some papers trying to sue Jax and Lewis for the death of their child. I'm like, now, come on now. Are we that petty, y'all? Are we that petty? That's how the episode ends. Reasonable Doubt, y'all. It's been a wild ride. It has been a wild ride. We better not have to wait no 2 years for another episode. For another season. Hopefully we'll get season 3. I'm pretty sure we are. Everybody's been talking about it on social media. Number one show I think right now is that people are watching, where they was trying to finish watching the conclusion. I enjoy this right here, so hopefully you guys continue to subscribe to my channel. And Reasonable Doubt season 3, if we get it, I'll be here, y'all. I will be here. And as always, thank you for tuning in to The Lawrence Report.